Today on Investigate TV Plus, injectable drugs for weight loss are touted as game changers, but for many, results can come at a high cost. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. We take an in-depth look at the financial hurdles surrounding this type of medication and explore efforts to offer a more affordable path to weight loss. Plus,
the doctor called me first and told me that I was positive. And of course, I really hope my sister doesn't have this as well.
Unfortunately, we both came back with BRCA2.
Life-altering news resulted in a cycle of testing, scans, and uncertainty for sisters until
we're getting rid of a part of your body. It's an amputation.
They decided to undergo major surgery in the name of prevention. We explore the challenges faced by cancer previvors and the resources available to help navigate the process.
Then, what he first observed as a dot on the map.
I'm telling you, it was a life-changing experience.
Inspired conversations, decades of dedication, and eventually national recognition.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. Nearly half of all Americans are living with obesity, which is second only to smoking as the leading cause of preventable death in our country.
While there's no magic bullet to reverse the chronic disease's growing trend, experts and patients say they found something that's working. Medications targeting weight loss and diabetes like Wegovy, Zepbound, and Ozempic are part of a relatively new class of drugs that work by suppressing appetite and food intake. They've been hailed as not only life-changing, but life-saving, leading to a surge in popularity in recent years.
But not everyone can get their hands on them. Many insurance plans don't cover the medications if prescribed solely for weight management, and the out-of-pocket cost can be crippling.
Reporter Heather Graff shows us just how devastating that reality is for some patients and what's being done about it.
For a long time, was on a upward scale of just gaining weight.
For North Carolina mom, Kiana Price, trying to stay healthy has been a lifelong battle.
And I remember seeing a picture of myself that someone else had took, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I had gotten that big.
The reality of what she saw terrified her, not because of how she looked, but how she felt. Kiana is pre-diabetic with a family history of diabetes.
It's a trickle-down effect, and I'm really trying to stop, and not get to that place.
Over the years, she tried managing her weight with diet and exercise, but nothing was working. Not until 2023, that is, when she started taking a relatively new weight loss drug called Wegovy.
I was losing weight, my A1C had came down, I felt a lot better, I was doing a lot better.
Kiana lost about 60 pounds in a year.
This was the most consistent weight loss I had ever seen for the longest period of time.
Wegovy is part of a class of medications called GLP-1 agonists that work by reducing blood sugar levels.
And they also interact with appetite hormones to lower and suppress appetite.
Clinical trials have shown patients can lose more than 10% of their body weight. And according to University of Pennsylvania cardiologist Dr. Lauren Eberly, the results are compounded over time.
These medicines really have also been shown to lower your risk of a heart attack, risk of a stroke, and improve quality of life in certain types of heart failure. So there's really tremendous benefit.
While GLP-1 medications are typically covered for type 2 diabetes patients, insurance coverage can be harder to come by for those strictly overweight and treating obesity. In fact, according to a recent JP Morgan survey, less than half of employers offer coverage for weight loss management alone, and current laws prohibit Medicare from doing so.
How frustrating is all of this?
It's very frustrating.
In April 2024, Kiana's health plan stopped covering GLP-1 medications that had been prescribed for weight loss, citing cost. She had been paying $25 a month for Wegovy and was now looking at more than $1,000 out of pocket.
It's ultimately me deciding, am I going to have a place to stay for me and my kids, or am I going to pay for this medication? And I just knew that wasn't an option.
Cost is a common threat among GLP-1 medications in the United States.
People are going into debt. People are putting this stuff on credit cards because they're so desperate.
Weight loss specialist Dr. Janice Laster has spent years advocating for more widespread availability.
What are the cost comparisons covered from insurance versus not covered?
Oh, it's huge. For if it's not covered, it can be upwards of $2,000 a month. If it is covered, it's from $0 to $25 a month.
At the federal level, efforts are underway to help remove the price barrier. A bipartisan bill was introduced on Capitol Hill in 2023 that would allow Medicare to cover FDA-approved obesity medications. It's called the Treat and Reduce Obesity Act, and Laster says it would be an important step because Medicare often influences private insurance as well.
It feels very wrong that patients that really need it don't have access.
A similar measure was proposed in late 2024 by the then Biden administration.
What would you say to lawmakers if you had them sitting right here?
I need for you guys to get to work. Some people are fighting for their lives, and this is helping them in that fight.
Senator Bernie Sanders has been vocal about the need to get weight loss drug pricing under control.
If not made affordable, Americans throughout this country will needlessly die and suffer.
In September 2024, he grilled the CEO of Wegovy maker Novo Nordisk at a Senate hearing.
From a moral perspective, does it bother you knowing that keeping the price of Ozempic and Wegovy so high in the United States could lead to the preventable deaths of tens of thousands of Americans?
So, Senator, we are very committed to make sure that Americans have access at affordable price point for our medicines.
Novo Nordisk representatives declined to speak on camera, but provided a statement saying in part, "We look forward to continuing to work with policymakers and other stakeholders toward meaningful solutions for the people who rely on our medicines." Meanwhile, a recent study led by researchers at Yale and the University of Florida says expanding access in the country could prevent more than 40,000 deaths a year.
These medicines are just tremendously effective, much more so than, all of our recommendations that we can make, for exercise and diet changes.
What do I have in my pantry?
But for many, consistency is key because research shows that weight regain is common when patients stop taking GLP-1 medications, particularly when it's abrupt.
Since I've been off the medication, my weight has gone back up. I feel like I'm reverting back to the beginning of this whole journey, and I don't want to go back there.
Kiana says she's taking her weight loss journey one day at a time.
Trying to stay in the gym, stay motivated to do it on my own, but it's been tough.
That's why she seeks out motivation any way she can.
Whatever the problem is, the answer is not in the fridge.
Because for this mother, failure isn't an option.
I want to be here to see them graduate from school. I want to be here when they start their families. And if I don't do something now to turn this around, it's not going to happen.
For those without insurance coverage, there are several ways you could save on weight loss drugs, including patient assistance programs, savings cards, and health savings accounts. Novo Nordisk's Wegovy savings card can take hundreds of dollars off the list price, and Eli Lilly offers a similar savings card for its weight loss medication Zepbound, which Maryland resident Jonathan Myers has been taking since early 2024. He's taken advantage of the discount and factors the cost into his monthly budget.
I prioritized it as an expense, a life expense, just like rent or mortgage or a car payment or grocery stores. So from my perspective, it's just as important as that. So I'm budgeting for it.
According to drug makers, common side effects of these weight loss medications include nausea and abdominal pain.
Meanwhile, a 2024 Senate report noted that while Wegovy, for example, costs more than $1,300 a month in America, it's just a fraction of that in other countries. Some call this a failure by Big Pharma and the country's healthcare system.
Zepbound maker Eli Lilly, which declined to speak on camera, says comparing U.S. list prices to other countries overlooks patient affordability programs and the substantial discounts and fees paid to PBMs by pharmaceutical companies, which should reduce costs for Americans but can sometimes drive prices higher.
Still to come, rumors of her death were greatly exaggerated.
I'm not dead.
We examine how a government mistake nearly plunged her into financial ruin and the steps she took to restore her life.
But first,
The doctor called me first and told me that I was positive.
sisters reach a pivotal decision after genetic testing revealed a ticking time bomb in their bodies. We explore what it means to be a cancer previvor and provide resources to those facing an uncertain future.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes. Breast cancer carries a heavy emotional toll, no matter if you're newly diagnosed or a survivor.
But among those who have never had the disease, there's a group called previvors for which cancer is top of mind.
A breast cancer previvor is someone who has a high risk of developing the disease but has not been diagnosed. Previvors may have a family history or a genetic mutation that increases their risk.
Reporter Riley Wyant introduces us to sisters who together made a difficult decision to prevent getting the disease and are helping others who face a similar choice.
Luckily, we had each other to lean on.
Meet Ivy and Lexi Hunt. They were in their early 20s when they underwent genetic testing, given a family history of breast cancer.
The doctor called me first and told me that I was positive. And of course, I really hope my sister doesn't have this as well.
Unfortunately, we both came back with BRCA2.
BRCA2 is a gene mutation that indicates you're at a higher risk for breast cancer.
When we found out, we weren't that surprised. My grandma had breast cancer, and one of my aunts at the time had just passed away from breast cancer.
With that unfortunate combination, doctors told them they had a nearly 97% chance of getting breast cancer in their lifetime.
That's a big number.
In the 8 years since that life-altering news, it's been a cycle of testing, scans, and uncertainty.
We call it scanxiety, and the anxiety of waiting for the results of each scan is a lot.
So the sisters making the brave decision to undergo preventative double mastectomies for a chance at survival and mental relief.
We decided this year was the year to just get it done so we would have that peace of mind of going from a 95 to 97% chance to a 1 to 2% chance of getting breast cancer.
Even though we had 8 years to prepare for this, it really didn't hit until the week before that we're getting rid of a part of your body. It's an amputation. So it was a big adjustment.
Luckily, the surgeries were successful.
I had never had a surgery before this. I had my wisdom teeth out, so I didn't have any idea what to expect, but no one saying, all right, well, this is how it feels, the drains, this is how you do it. It's not comfortable. This is the worst part, the more personal part of it.
That's why the sisters decided to start a blog documenting their experience, providing tips and resources to make women feel less alone.
Luckily, I had my sister to do this with, but a lot of people are doing this by themselves.
It's important to talk to your healthcare team about the benefits and risks of surgery to reduce the chance of developing breast cancer. You can find more Previvor resources on the Force website. Just go to facingourrisk.org. In Richmond, Virginia, I'm Riley Wyant.
Still ahead, architecture inspired him to preserve a town's legacy.
I had never seen anything quite like that.
We go beyond the bones of the old buildings and share the stories they tell.
But first, dead wrong.
Call the bank and they says, yeah, there's a problem with your account. You're deceased. And I was like, what?
You can only imagine her shock. We dig deeper into a government error impacting thousands every year and provide solutions to resurrect your life. Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to Investigate TV Plus on all social media platforms. Each year, thousands of people are mistakenly declared dead by the federal government.
The problem for those still alive, once the government says you're dead, your name is placed on the death master file, and your accounts get locked down and payments stop.
But for people who don't belong in the death master file, it can create a serious financial mess. Consumer reporter Susan Campbell speaks to one woman as she works to resurrect herself.
I don't even know. I've never seen so many zeros in my life.
It is a lot of zeros. A bank account negative $100 billion.
It was that one giant red number.
And it was the clue that Nana Radkowitz had a problem.
Call the bank and they says, yeah, there's a problem with your account. You're deceased. And I was like, what?
Clearly she's alive and well. So what happened? Nina found out the Social Security Administration incorrectly listed her as dead.
I don't know where along this line this has happened or who, what, or why. It's just one number that could have been off on my Social Security number, you know, when they put it in systems.
We wanted to learn more about how this could happen, so we reached out to the Social Security Administration. A spokesperson says every year about 3.1 million deaths are reported to the SSA by states, family members, funeral homes, federal agencies, and financial institutions. The vast majority of the time, those reports are accurate, but about 1/3 of 1% have to be corrected. Some quick math will tell you that's about 10,230 death reports that are wrong.
It's scary. You know, you go into panic mode.
The SSA says if you suspect you've been incorrectly listed as dead, go to your local Social Security office and be sure to have at least one current form of identification with you. Social Security says it will correct the error immediately and give you a letter confirming the correction.
Confirm that she is alive.
Then he used that letter to help her unravel the mess with her banks. One unlocked her account right away. The other doesn't have local branches. And it's taking a little more legwork.
I did everything I could do. I jumped through all your hoops. What more can I do? I'm not dead.
Once again, if this happens to you, visit your local Social Security office as soon as possible. Make sure you bring an original form of identification, such as a driver's license, passport, or military record. Then you'll need to request an erroneous death case third-party contact letter.
Once your record is corrected, you'll get a copy of the letter to prove to banks and others that you are indeed alive. Can you imagine what a pain that is, though? I mean, 10,000 people in the big picture isn't a lot, but if you're one of those 10,000, it's got to take hours and hours and hours to get that repaired and restored, your life.
That's a lot to deal with. There's a lot on your to-do list, and coming back to life from the dead usually isn't one of them.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I like that.
Well, up next, a chance stop more than 5 decades ago changed his life.
All I can say is that God sent me here.
Why he was inspired to go from visitor to historian to eventually small-town politician.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
Keachai is a small Louisiana town that most of you probably never heard of.
But a chance roadside stop more than a half-century ago by a young Houston artist gave the town and some of its elder citizens a place in history. Reporter Dave McNamara takes us there.
The town of Keachai was just a tiny spot on the map for Travis Whitfield as he drove from Houston to visit his sister in Shreveport.
I'm telling you, it was a life-changing experience when I ran that curve and saw that old store and those guys sitting out there.
The year was 1971. The old A.W. Wyatt grocery had closed 9 years earlier.
The building, the fact that that Greek revival, that huge temple style, that I had never seen anything quite like that.
Whitfield was a young artist who wanted to paint landscapes, but there was something about this scene. A store built in 1848, and the old men, their weathered faces, and the lively conversation that Whitfield couldn't get out of his mind. He was hooked.
I mean, it was like you stepped back to that period, of the 30s. They were still holding that.
The town of Keachai, population 300, was full of old weathered buildings. Whitfield grabbed his camera and snapped hundreds of pictures, and he waited patiently for his porch crew to finally agree to pose for portraits.
But I was not able to really get them to start posing to me till 73. It took me 2 years, But I did paintings around their houses, you know, inside out, I photographed everything.
He also got a cassette recorder and began taping their porch conversations, like this one about Huey Long.
Yeah, when Huey P. Long got wrong, all thought he was a poor man. And when he got killed, it was $4 million. That's right. He said, we thought that was a poor man. Damn sure did.
How much is $4 million?
He's a millionaire full time. He's a millionaire full time. And they all thought he was $4 million. And they thought he was a damn poor man. The white folks did, that's right. So we thought he was a poor man.
The recordings, photographs, and paintings are part of an art show that Whitfield calls Further On Down the Road.
All I can say is that God sent me here. There was something, you know, that brought me here, and when I saw it, you know, you've had that kind of feel like the hair stands on the back of your neck or something like that, and chills.
The artist also became politician, sort of. He was urged to qualify for mayor when nobody else wanted the job.
Basically, you know, I don't work that hard at it. You know, I really enjoy it, but it's kind of a headache.
There was something more than the old men that made Keachai fascinating. It was also the old buildings, a rare collection that has gained national recognition.
Whitfield has been part of efforts to place 10 buildings on the National Register of Historic Places. There is the Liberty Lodge, several houses, the Baptist Church, the Methodist Church, and the Presbyterian Church, all built in the mid-1800s and all still in use today.
I believe this in my heart, that if there had been any money in Keachai after the Depression during that period, that these buildings would have probably been torn down and new little brick buildings would have been built.
Sometimes you look at an old building and try to imagine the stories it could tell. Thanks to Travis Whitfield, you can still hear those stories in Keachai.
And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus.
You were not able to take your medication today, correct?
Correct.
How is that impacting you right now?
Well, I'm pretty fidgety. I feel like my mind goes all over the place.
Countless patients struggle with their health due to a record number of drug shortages.
We're a victim of the system.
We take an in-depth look at what's behind the break in the supply line and a solution to improve the production of medications.